It's not that, man. Like I thought when I was younger, I was like, my dream was to own a restaurant. That was always my thing. I want to own a restaurant. But now when you think about it, it's like restaurants have the slimmest margins, dude. If I'm processing $300,000 in sales a year,
It costs a lot to run too, huh?
yeah, I'm probably banking 2% at most. And I think it was January 2017 when California passed like a gas tax.
Really?
I don't know if you remember. There was like, oh, your gas is now going to be, and then the Bay Bridge was like one more dollar to cross it. It went from like $5 to $6.
So now it's like
Yeah, now
10
it's like
bucks,
yeah.
$9.
So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And
Seriously.
so like I started investigating. So I was like, why is this happening?
Uh huh.
Like, why is it more expensive? And then that's when it was like, well, it's more expensive because like it's got to fund all these railroad. And then like I started reading into the train, the like express train that they're building between LA and San Francisco. That now is like only between Bakersfield and like some like middle of nowhere town. And then I was like, that's not right. Like, why should that happen? And so I was like, why are we paying all these taxes for like no benefit?
Yeah, man. I know the city had like $14 billion to work on like their problems, and like the homelessness thing hasn't changed at all, or it's getting worse. You know, so there's a lot of corruption from.
Yeah, so that was for me, and then like that's when I started to look into like we already were planning to move to Texas, but that's when I looked into like more of Trump things. Like,
Really?
okay, well, like what are they saying about Trump? That's and I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't really mean this. Like,
Oh yeah, he doesn't.
and I was like,
No,
he didn't really say this, and so like
Yeah.
I think it was really not until like 2020 though that I started like really hard on like getting more like okay, I want to probably switch my voting style.
Yeah, dude. This place was. I mean, the Bay Area is still cool, but I think back then, like, there was a lot of
There's cool stuff, man.
good things. But now I think like the work from home culture, and then like, I think there's a lack of. There's not too many things to do. I feel like after you do them all, you know. Or what do you think?
I think there's. I mean,
You got to be around the right people, huh?
Yeah, like it depends. Like I mean, Austin's a boring city. I think, in my opinion, Austin's a boring city. I think if you're single, it's probably a great city to be at. It's probably
There's a lot of girls there.
Huh?
There's more girls there.
Well, it's more. There's more like single activities to do. Like for example, like I know a lot of my single friends. On the weekend, they'll go to the beach, right? Or they'll go
The lake.
the lake. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
What do
the
you
lake.
call it?
The lake, and then or they'll go hang out on East Austin on a Rainier, which is like drinking, going out to eat, tacos and all that. And I mean, yeah, like that's cool, but like, I think other than that, it's like I've got kids, so like if I want to do something on the weekend, I want to go to Six Flags. I want to go to there's a cool place in Dallas called Kadzania. If I want to take my kids there, like I either have to go up to Dallas, down to San Antonio, or out to Houston. So that kind of
Houston's cool.
yeah. I mean, but it just sucks it out. And I mean, the thing with Houston, I love Dallas. If I had the opportunity to move and have similar lifestyle that I do in Austin, I would move to Dallas in a heartbeat. Houston, the thing with Houston is just the humidity is really bad.
Yeah, yeah. Is that like it? Is that humidity all the year, or is it just like summers and spring or fall?
Probably cools down around this time of the year, like the winter, spring-ish. But most of the year, it's more humid.
Dude, yeah, I was over there like for a week, like half a week in Austin and Houston, and I think like Houston has cool people, but then again, it's like, okay, so yeah, like one's more liberal. Austin's like super liberal, right? So
Austin,
like,
yeah, I mean, like we joke and say it's East California.
yeah, no, my friend says it's the blueberry and the tomato soup. Like,
Yeah.
you've heard of that one?
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Or the blue dot and the red wave or whatever they call it.
Oh man, yeah, I mean, Houston was. It seemed like a blue collar town. Like, would you say like Austin's like a, I don't know, like, kind of like here where it's there's blue collar, but you don't notice it because there's too much
No,
of
Austin
technology.
So I was reading one time about like the foundation of Austin, right?
Uh-huh.
And so Austin originally, if you didn't know, Austin originally was called Waterloo.
Waterloo.
And Austin, I believe, is named after Stephen F. Austin, which I can't remember if it was the first governor of like Texas or like somebody somebody important. I mean, we can look it up. Somebody important in the I should probably know this too. I mean, Stephen F.
Didn't know that history.
Stephen F. Austin was known as the American-born impresario, known as the father of Texas and founder of Anglo-Texas. He led the second and ultimately successful colonization of the region by bringing 300 families and their slaves from the United States to the Tejas region in 1825. So I guess he's the one that really, set up Texas, you can say. He was the fourth Secretary of State of Texas, while Sam Houston, which I'm assuming that's what Houston's called, set up,
He was a slave owner?
I don't know. That's an interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, he died in 1836. I think the Mexican-American War was in 1840 something.
The one where they took Texas back, huh? Or Texas made Texas
like became independent. I mean, he must have been a slave owner. It says he also helped ensure the introduction of slavery into Texas.
Oh,
despite
shit.
the Mexican government's opposition to the institution. So.
Yeah, man, Texas is the South. Like,
I guess during the Texas Revolution, he was he lived must have been his dying years. He died in December of 1836. Yeah. I don't know if he died as a result of the Texas War. But yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, he caught a severe cold. His condition worsened. He died of pneumonia. There you go. I mean, shit that today he probably would have lived. When you think about the medical advancements. But
yeah. What you call that? When I went to like 6th Street in Austin, and you could tell like that could have been like that scene like from a Western movie. Like, the
whole area. I mean, they try to keep it intact and kind of the don't mess with Texas
the bars. Yeah, the bars.
But to your original question, so when the Republic of Texas was established, the capital was established in Austin.
Oh yeah.
And so for many, many years, Austin became like a very much white collar society where legislators would come to Austin to make laws and to, Congress and all that stuff. And then it was kind of the hub of like education for the state of Texas, it seems like, from what I've read.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until the 1960s, 70s when I believe it was Texas Instruments and IBM set up shop there.
Yeah, the calculator, yeah.
Yeah, and so they started kind of producing their product, and so they brought in more jobs from there. And then I believe sometime in the 80s, 70s, 80s, a lot of...
They have big oil industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big oil, but there's not really like a big commerce. Like Houston is big on oil. But like Austin's not really like...
Do you know why like the gas there is... I guess there's a political reason, and then there's like the consumer supply and demand reason. But dude, when I was over there, the gas was like $3, right? And you're over here, it's like $4 or something.
I mean, gas right now. This morning when I saw it was what, $3.79 over there. I fill up $2.49.
Okay.
Never got more than $4. Like at the height of everything being kind of expensive, when Joe Biden took office, it never got more than $4.
Dude, yeah, when Trump was there, I remember paying $2.75 over in Southern California. So. And then, like, I guess, like, yeah, he got out, right? And then the gas dude went to $6 one time here, I think. So $5.89, remember that?
That's crazy.
So I'm like, what did he really do?
When Trump was in office, and it was during COVID, which must have been the months between March and June when kind of the shutdown kind of felt the most, I was able to find a 1 gas for 99 cents. So my wife has a
99 cents gas?
An SUV. You fill it up with 17 gallons. I filled up her SUV for $18.
At like a Buc-ee's or something? Or?
No, like a regular, like...
A regular?
The regular store. I mean, I think nowadays, like now I don't live in that area, but like usually I used to go to Quick Circle. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, or Circle K.
Yeah, that one. It was down the street, and it was 99 cents a gallon. And then today it's like 250, between 250 and 280 is what it hovers.
No way.
Yeah.
What do you think like makes the prices
Lower.
higher and lower based off of geography?
Well, I think one. I mean, what's funny enough is California can drill gas.
Yeah.
It's just the government in California would rather not because it's cleaner. It's whatever. A lot of things involve oil.
There's a special gas tax here too. Like,
well, there's that. So again, the state of California doesn't want to drill where it can. Two, you guys have, I think it's $1 more of gas tax than we do in Texas. So, and then three, it's just the distance because you're not wanting to drill. The gas has to be imported from Texas or from, I mean, I think
Venezuela or something.
Yeah, I mean,
like
Oklahoma, I think also like does drilling as well. So it has to be like transported, and so that costs. Versus like I think gas historically is a lot cheaper too, and I say a lot cheaper. It's like if gas is $2.50 in Austin, it's I can look it up. It's probably $2.40 in
I filled
Houston.
up one time over there. Yeah.
So like, let's see. So like that really vastly changes things. And let me tell you. Let's look it up. The Woodlands.
Are you in Round Rock, Austin, or is that?
No, I'm in.
Is that what they call it?
Leander, which is a suburb of Austin. So yeah, so like for example, the Woodlands, the cheapest you can find is $2.32, which is at an HEB. Most expensive is $2.87. So I'm imagining it's like Chevron Shell type of thing. And then when we go to my zip code,
sorry,
good. Yeah, so the cheapest you can find in my zip code is yeah, so it's $2.49. It's about 17 cents more expensive. Probably what you're paying more for is the fact that transportation costs. You've got the Gulf of Mexico right there, less than 20 miles away from you in the Woodlands.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost that much to transport it versus 180 miles to Austin.
Dude, yeah. No, that's cool, man. Because I think like with the way the economy is, like you definitely make decisions based off of like how expensive your gas is, and
yeah, I mean, and that impacts a lot of things. Because if you think about it, if I'm a dairy farmer, right, and I contract with HEB, right, I'm taking that into consideration how much. And I'm pretty sure it's probably the other way. If I'm HEB and I contract with a dairy farmer, and all of a sudden I pick up, milk, gallons of milk at your facility and transport it to my headquarters in San Antonio, if it costs me $200 to pay the transportation company, right? And then all of a sudden gas goes up, right? Gas goes from $2.59 to $3.59, right? $1 difference. Now maybe that ends up costing, instead of $200, it ends up costing $350. Simple supply and demand, or simple economics, right? I'm going to pass the cost on to
the consumers.
So now a gallon of milk that used to be $2.59, because of that, now it's $2.79 because I have to make up, right? I have to, and it's not only do I
keep the margins.
Keep the margins, because it's not about the dollar amount, right? It's not like, well, if I add another X amount and I still walk away with $100 per carton of milk that I sell, that's good. No, like now you're investing more money. So if you want to keep a healthy margin, I want to keep a 20% profit. Now instead of 20% profit on $200 is $40 versus 20% profit on $100 is $20. So that incrementally has to rise the cost, and that's what essentially probably has brought a lot of the inflation here.
Yeah. I think I saw somewhere on the phone, like on Instagram or something, where it's like somebody was talking about like the price of gas direct, I think it was Dave Ramsey. He said that the price of gas directly affects the price of food, You know, because people
price of food, price of transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you saw. I had a friend that made a dumb statement once when we were talking about like, dude, gas. Like, gas needs to not stop going up because like it's impacting. And he's like, well, I take public transportation, so gas doesn't impact me. I'm like, no, like your food costs.
Yeah, right.
More,
yeah, right.
You want to fly somewhere? Well, guess what? Those $89 tickets. Like, I remember back in the day, probably when we graduated high school. You can go to, and I don't know if it's.
We paid 75 cents for that muni bus, and sometimes you didn't pay.
But like, for example, I remember you could find on like the summer months a one-way ticket down to LA on Southwest for probably $59, $69.
Yeah.
One way. I haven't checked in a while because I don't live here, but I'd imagine that's not possible anymore. I mean, good.
Yeah, man. I was at Whole Foods yesterday. I was talking to this guy. I was like,
yeah,
the guy has $50 for some groceries that I paid, and I was like, yeah, man, these prices keep going up. And he's like, well, I don't know where to go. And I said, well, shit, maybe I might go to Texas. And he was like, it's too hot over there.
It is.
Like, do you deal with the weather? Like, does it affect you at all? Like, it's a dry heat, right? Like, it's not really.
No, it's not dry. I think anyone that tells you that it's dry is probably lying to you.
It could depend on what part of Texas, though. Or is it all?
Different parts are different parts. Typically, like, you want dry heat, go to Arizona. Arizona is typically like a very much dry heat. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, example. A flight that would cost $59 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Cheapest one way, $95.
Dude, yeah, I remember I have a screenshot of I was in Vegas and I ordered DoorDash and it was the Raising Cane's. It was like $10 for something like the Caniac combo, but now it's $20. So I think that's partially the gas and then minimum wage factored in and cost of chickens and all.
So, yeah, but like, for example, DoorDash inflates their prices. So like, if you were to go to Raising Cane's, you get the number 3 combo and it's $10. On DoorDash, it's $13, $14.
Yeah,
I have a buddy that works there for DoorDash. I won't disclose who it is, but like he likes to he doesn't like to. The reason why he doesn't want to work there anymore because DoorDash apparently does a lot of shady practices.
Like delivers the food or just does something?
No. So like, for example, you're Filipino, right? You have Dan's Filipino Kitchen. Right?
Yeah.
And you do not work with any of these DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever else. Third-party companies, right? EasyCater, or Moby Dish, whatever. DoorDash will advertise you on
the platform.
Their platform. So if I'm over here, I'm like, you know what? I'm craving some lumpia. Oh, mom. I go in there and I'm like, oh, Dan's Kitchen. It's 2 miles away. Probably can get it here in 30 minutes. I'm starving. Great. You have no idea that the order gets submitted through DoorDash. Now I don't know how it goes exactly. If DoorDash calls in or whatever. Yeah. But like. You just got, and DoorDash will say, Dan's Lumpia, you charge me $13 for a plate. DoorDash is charging me $18 for a plate.
Yeah, they mark it up.
Yeah, so it's like a shady thing. I mean, I personally, I don't ever order from one of those sites. I mean, I'd rather go and pick it up.
Is it because you think somebody's gonna mess with the food? You think?
No. I think it's the price. Like, it's so inflated, dude. Like one time I tried doing this where I was remodeling a house, and at the same time, my car, my car was getting maintenance. It was kind of close by where I was remodeling the house. So I was like, perfect. I took an Uber from the dealership to the place, whatever. And I was hungry. I was like, I'm starving. I'm craving, I think I was craving something stupid like Subway, right? Subway's gone out of control, by the way. But a Subway sandwich used to be like maybe like $10, right? A foot long.
$5, yeah. $10.
Well, I mean, that was a $5 foot long. That was like 10 years ago. But like, you can get a foot long for like probably $10, $12.
Yeah, probably 18 now, huh?
Whoa, through Uber, so it wasn't DoorDash, but through Uber Eats, dude, it was $22.
Oh yeah,
and that's before tipping the driver.
Yeah, you got to leave that tip too.
So I was like, fuck it. So I walked my ass in the middle of the heat.
Oh dang!
To Subway for a $3, to save $10 because I'm like, it's not worth it.
Dude, yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing. I mean, so I guess like to get back into you, like you have kids, right? So like, does that, like, are you like a super conscious spender where like you think about the price a lot, or is it like you just say, this is what I gotta buy? And
yeah,
and a wife too. I didn't mean to leave her out, right?
What's up?
I was like, you got 2 kids, but then
No.
some people don't include the wife, so that's like.
No. Yeah. I mean, my wife and I, we're, I'll throw you a line from the campaign. I was raised as a middle class child. No, I in all seriousness, I was raised very poor, so like, cost was always very like conscious in my family. Now, do I splurge on things from time to time? Yeah, sure. Like, but I try to make sure that when we go somewhere, like, there's I don't say I try to choose the cheapest place, but I try to choose the place where I can feel like I can get the best value.
Where would that be? You would you say, or has in Texas, or
well, I mean,
even here?
I think living in Texas, like, obviously has the
They
best
got good food. Yeah,
there's great food,
a lot of food.
but the value of living there, I think, is probably for what you get is non-par. Maybe like some Midwest, states could probably provide similar things. Like, maybe, I don't know, and I haven't done a full analysis, but like, I think that goes in there. Like, I don't. And nowadays, like, we're talking about grocery shopping. I used to go for like the cheapest thing.
What would that be? Like tortillas, or I guess?
No, I mean, you're going for store brand stuff.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You're going for, if there's, you want ground beef. I'm not going for 100% lean. I'm going for maybe 80-20 because it's cheaper. Because there's a little more fat, so therefore. But I think it's been about 2 years. I got really sick about 2 years ago, like really bad gastritis. And so I have to like change up my diet. And I really, like, within that, you kind of start going down a rabbit hole of like finding out what would work, what doesn't work, like what's good. And so you start becoming a lot more like health conscious. And so nowadays, what we try to buy is a lot of like organic, grass-fed meat, right? Things with little dyes.
And you cook it yourself?
Yeah, we cook. Yeah, we cook a lot. I mean, we go out once a week maybe to eat, but the rest of the time we cook. And so that's, again, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at where I can get the best bang for my buck, right? So like, will Whole Foods give me 1 pound of lean beef that's grass fed for,
$12 maybe?
$6-7 probably,
$6,
right? Or if I go to the farmer's market, can I get this? Can I get that for $5 directly from the farmer?
Oh yeah,
right. Or the one thing, I love Costco. I think Costco's an amazing place, but the one thing is Costco, unless it's like, I think ground beef is the only thing that they sell that's
expensive.
No, that's it's grass fed. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
They have their big meat selections.
Yeah.
I don't think everything there is grass fed necessarily. And sometimes you're like, okay, well, I think this is a good enough price. Like, I love Costco's carne asada, so that they sell. I think it's like $10 a pound, or something like that, or $12.
And what are you? You bring it home and you just make you what do you cook for off of that? Like, I just got, what's it called? New to the world of making
food. I mean, meat. I can easily eat meat.
Like taco. Like what's something like? You kind of have a background in cooking too, right? But like, what's something like that you could make that tastes good and is not that hard to make, or maybe not that hard to make, but like wouldn't, I guess, like take too much time, or I don't know, like, yeah.
I mean, I feel like any meat can easily be, like, for example, I'll buy just a piece of rib steak, right? And or ribs, like ribs, like, as long as they're prepared. But again, the thing you have to watch out for or read for is like, what are the ingredients being put in this, right? But I'll buy flank steak. I think is the easiest thing. I'll buy flank steak. I'll throw it in the grill, salt, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of pepper.
And you chop chop and dice the garlic, that kind of garlic.
Yeah. Slice it up, right? Slice the take the meat off the grill, let it rest for a little bit so all the juice is kind of contained. I like my meat medium rare, so that there's a little bit of blood in there.
Oh shit, yeah.
Comes out juicier.
And you like make rice or like just
I'll make some rice on the side or
vegetables.
Sometimes I'll just eat it like that, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, like, for example, I don't like at all ceviche, or not, sorry, ceviche, turkey.
Okay.
I think turkey's dry. I think turkey's kind of like
the cold cut, or like the
big Thanksgiving turkey.
Thanks that one.
And so a lot of the times what I think about is I'm like, okay, what can I make that's different, right? And so like we made ceviche for Thanksgiving this year. Easiest thing, dude. We grabbed halibut and shrimp. They chopped it up into little pieces. I put cucumber,
lemon. Right?
well, you cook it with lemon. So I put cucumber, onion, cilantro.
You put it in the oven, or how do you cook that?
No. You just put it in a bowl.
In a bowl? Oh, it's not even cooked at all, right?
So the acidity of the lemon cooks it.
Damn.
So I put cilantro, onion, cucumber, something else, and I can't. You can put tomato. I don't like tomato. You can put tomato on it. And then you season it with just salt and pepper. That's it. And you let it, and then you drench it in lemon juice, and you let it drench for at least 2 hours.
Did you learn how to cook at Boulette's, it was called, or the other restaurant you worked at too? Did they teach you?
I mean, really, where I learned to cook at was probably first experience was a coffee shop called La Blanche. I don't think they exist anymore.
Are they French or something like that?
Yeah, now I think maybe there's like a spin-off now called Boulangerie. I'm not sure, but La Blanche was kind of where I learned. And then I went to learn to cook at Pachi's Pizza.
Patsy with the X?
Pachi's, yeah. Where the pizza place. The
you worked over there?
Yeah.
Like as a cook. As a cook?
And then I think towards the end, like, so
the one on 24th?
No,
or which one?
The one on Hayes.
Oh shit, Hayes.
The one on Hayes. That's where I got hired. Then I got hired as a cook, and then later on, I started. So it's funny because when I got hired, I only like.
Is it hard to get hired? Because
no,
I've done concessions at the Giants before, and I just showed up. But like for that, do you have to like do what the tech people make you do, and like do interviews and all that stuff? Or
no, if I'm not mistaken, so the reason I got hired there is because when Starbucks bought out La Blanche, they made a bunch of changes, and so what ended up happening was at that time, like kind of just things went downhill at La Blanche. And a couple of my like buddies left, right? But we all worked in the kitchen.
Oh, damn.
And so one of my buddies was like, "Oh, I'm going to Pachi's," and I was like, "Oh, well, let me know." And I think back then at La Blanche, I was maybe making like $12 an hour. And at Pachi's, he's like, "I'm getting paid $13.50," which to me was like, "Oh my god, like this is amazing, right?"
I remember I made that money too.
Yeah. And so my buddy was like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go over there," and I was like, "Hey, like if you're going over there, like." There's an opportunity, like tag me in, like I'd love to. And he called me like a day later, and he's like, "Hey, come show up here, bring your resume, just one piece of paper, right?" I didn't have much experience, and they asked me, but it's funny because my buddies only spoke Spanish.
Oh shit!
They assumed that I only spoke Spanish, so my interview was in Spanish, and really? So. The kitchen, you only speak Spanish, and like I understood, like it was hilarious because I never really told anyone, but the kitchen managers would always come up to me and give me all the instructions in English, and then I would understand, but then they start translating to me in Spanish to be like, we want you to make 50 cases of dough prepare, right? And I'll be like, and then they would be like, "Queremos que tú hagas 50," and I was like,
"We can make how much?"
I was like, I understand. I never said anything. I understand you guys. And so, what ended up happening later is I was kind of always like, I started dishwashing prep cooking there. That's really, again, where I can continue to learn more.
That's a life skill, bro. Cooking, cleaning.
Cleaning is a life skill, man.
I saw a girl say that a man needs to make $75K, but I don't even think she knows how to clean or cook, Like, I can't provide that for that. I will. It's not a good trade-off.
I mean, it's funny. Nowadays, like, I'm glad I don't have to date in today's society. I feel bad for some of y'all. Because it's like, girls expect guys to make 6 figures.
Yeah.
Take him on trips, take him on like a fancy, first night dinner place.
I don't know.
And like, when you're talking about value, what do you get in exchange? And it's like, you get pre-owned pussy. So it's like, you want me to have all these qualities, but I can't even get something good.
A rental. You get a rental.
You get a rental. So it's like, I might as well, for that amount of money I'm going to invest, I might as well go somewhere else where it's a lot, easier.
You've heard of the birth rates declining, right?
Birth rates down to, I think was it 40 years ago? Birth rate was like 4.5 children per woman.
Yeah, they don't
Now
really.
it's 1.6.
In San Francisco, especially too, because I overheard a conversation like with this girl who works at the. She's like a midwife type of lady. She was saying like, yeah, there's not too many kids being born, and dude, this would not be like a good place. I wouldn't say like it's what you make it, right? But like, man, when you got so much like drugs and there's a lot of crime. Well, I mean, you just see it like it's just negative, right? So like for you and living in Texas, do you feel like you're kind of just in your own world, like you don't notice all the things that.
No, I notice it.
I mean, it's worse here, right? Because people are breaking into cars and that doesn't happen over there. They'll shoot you.
So I mean, I think crime, when you put it into perspective, right? Crime's one of the biggest things that affects things, like the way society is. So you think about
theft and
60 years ago, probably I wasn't alive, right? But like 60 years ago, probably what Detroit was. I was looking at this in the morning. There was a study that said that it's at top 10 cities in the U.S. in 2000, right? And it was like number 1 was like New York, number 2 was L.A., number 3 was Chicago, number 4 I believe was San Francisco, 5 was Philly, 6 was Boston, 7 I can't remember what it was, D.C. Or yeah, something like that. 7 was D.C.
Washington D.C.
Yeah, Washington D.C. And then 8 was like Miami, or no, Miami wasn't even there.
These are the safest cities?
No, top 10 cities like most populated.
Oh yeah,
Let me see if I can find it.
Houston's up there too.
So Houston was 9. It was 10. Dallas was 9. Let me see if I can find it. City. I was looking at this, dude.
Seattle? No, that's
no. Seattle wasn't there.
There's Chicago.
Chicago's maintained, but I mean, what you got to count into it is like the whole metroplex area. Right?
Dallas has a lot of people, huh?
So Dallas. It's 25 years ago. Dallas was number 9.
Right? By population, right? Or you said by
by population.
Square foot. Yeah, population.
So here, let me see if there's the video. Shut it off. But yeah. So then so I want to show you a core. Okay, so here it is. In 2000, most populated, fastest growing cities. Number 1, New York. Number 2, LA. Number 3, Chicago. Number 4 actually was DC. Sorry. Number 5 was San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Number 6 was Philly. 7, Boston. 8, Detroit. Think about Detroit today. Detroit 25 years ago. Probably still you had some stuff. Number 9 was Dallas, and number 10 was Houston. You look at today, right?
It's got to be Miami.
So number 1 is still New York.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Which is funny because New York's probably going to end up losing. Give it another 5-10 years, it's going to end up losing some more population. 2 is LA, 3 is Chicago. So from 2000 to 2023, when this study was, so 23 years, 1, 2, and 3 unchanged, right? Number 4 used to be DC. Number 4 is now Dallas.
Texas, yeah, Dallas, yeah.
Number 5 used to be San Francisco, which is San Francisco Bay Area, so I'm assuming what they count. Number 5 is now Houston. Number 6 used to be Philly. Now it's Atlanta. Atlanta wasn't even in the map back then.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7 was Boston. Now it's DC, which is replaced by 4. I really doubt DC would take a huge hit because it's the center of our government.
I was over there, yeah. Have you been over there?
Not in a while. I don't think in 4 years. Number 8 used to be Detroit. No longer on the list. Now number 8 is replaced by Philadelphia, which is number 6. 23 years ago. Number 9 is Miami, or used to be Dallas. Now, obviously, we know Dallas moved up. Number 9 is Miami. Wasn't on the list years ago. Miami's had a huge boom. It's funny enough, Miami turned red.
Miami used to be blue, or?
Yeah, Miami used to be blue. Look at 8 years ago when Trump was first elected, Miami was blue. Miami-Dade was like a blue county.
You been over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, good place.
Number 10, Phoenix, another rapid growing area. So
shit.
What's funny is like the cities that all fell out, which is San Francisco, Boston, Detroit. I think are the 3 cities that fell out of the list. They're all Democrat-run cities and Democrat-run states. Because Boston, I think, up until last election was run by a Republican, but it was more of like a rhino Republican.
Yeah.
Now, the cities are up and coming, right? Which I've added to this list, which is Atlanta, Miami, and Phoenix. They're all in Republican states, right? I would argue that, I mean, the more, like, Atlanta's been trending more blue lately.
Georgia was red, I think.
Georgia was red this election, but
last
like
time
when you
they
looked
were-
at the map, the Atlanta suburbs were trending more blue.
Oh wow.
The rest of Georgia was trending red. But like you talk about the biggest concentration. So going back to your question, right? Like the shift in people going here has changed a lot, right? And then when you talk about it, I mean, we probably can look at stats, and I mean, you might want to pull it up on your computer. Like, what's the average rent in New York versus Miami, right?
Oh
Like,
shit, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you still a one bedroom is probably still $3,000 in New York.
The thing about Miami is they're building up.
Yeah.
Like here they don't, because not in my backyard, folks. So
NIMBY.
yeah, NIMBYs. And then there's Yimbys, right? Or
YIMBY, yes, in the
Yuppies.
back.
What are Yuppies?
I don't know what
It's just
yuppies are.
white folks.
Probably just hippies.
Hippies.
I know.
Okay.
NIMBYs is not in my backyard. YIMBY is yes in my backyard.
Oh, gotcha.
So going back to your original question, right? Why is the birth rate declining? All these cities like keep kind of getting out of control. But then also, if you think about it,
It's like a social dynamic, like technology.
social dynamic. But like, think about it.
Expenses too, huh?
Expenses. But like, think about it. Like maybe like, I don't know. I don't know about your parents, right? But my mom was a stay-at-home mom up until I was about 12.
In Mexico?
No, here in the U.S. My mom
Okay.
was a stay-at-home mom, so like my mom just cared for my brother and I up until I was 12. Right? I've been blessed enough to have the possibility that my wife is a stay-at-home wife. However, when you think about things that they taught us in school, right? I know you and I went to an all-boys high school, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, huh?
But the things that they teach women in high school is you can be president one day. You don't need a man for anything, which is fine. Like,
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying.
independence, but like
Yeah.
women grow up and end up growing up to then, a lot of women, and I was surprised because I came from San Francisco, which was kind of the goal. Every single girl I interacted with, four-year college in high school, right? Like that's the goal. It's how can I get into that four-year college?
And now there's more girls in school than men.
Yeah, and so like when I went to move to Seattle, I went to a place called Tacoma or Lakewood, and it has a huge like Russian Ukrainian population.
Uh-huh.
And what I was really really surprised is all the Ukrainian women that I talked to, or all the Russian women that I talked to there, their number one goal in life wasn't getting a 4-year degree, wasn't being president or CEO or boss bitch or whatever they call themselves. It was, I want to find a man, I want to get married, and I want to start having kids. That was their main goal.
What year was this?
10 years ago?
Oh,
2014, 2015?
Uh-huh.
So, like, when you start thinking about the dynamics of how society has changed, right?
yeah.
Today, that's what they teach women. And there's nothing wrong with, like, yes, if you want to be a woman that dresses in pantsuit, completely fine, that's your thing. But like that's not the equation that works for everybody. Just like I tell people, I'm like the equation of going to college that does not work for everybody.
Yeah, dude. I had graduated with like close to 28K in debt. So if you just think about what you could have done without that. But then again, it's like weird because I guess the degree did help with jobs. But then again, it's like there's so many people I know and getting you work for a company and you help like hire sales people, right? And you see the hiring of other departments too. Like, do you think, I
mean, at least in sales, I don't care if you have a fucking degree or not. I don't have a degree, right? I've gone to college and then I left, right? But I don't give a shit if I went to, if you went.
But sometimes the application does say you need
There's some applications.
What do you call it?
I think
bachelor's or something like that.
I think the job where I work at doesn't necessarily ask for bachelor's. Obviously, I think more than anything, it's almost like a societal thing, where it's like we'll look at an application and like, for example, my recruiter that I work with a lot, who is amazing. By the way,
do you work with a third party recruiter? Or
no, my like in-house recruiter.
Yeah.
I have like an assigned in-house recruiter, and she, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she's a Texas Tech graduate, so she's a Raider, and so like she was super pumped to see like two guys apply that are Texas Tech graduates, right? She's like, oh my god, look. She's like, I know that they have a good education. And I'm like, sure, I trust you. But it's more of that, right? It's more like, and I know in the past, like we hired one time this one gal who was a University of Buffalo graduate because our director of sales was a University of Buffalo graduate.
That's what they said was the main reason? Or like,
no, like part of it, like the decision maker was like, it wasn't like the main reason. Like she can do the job.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, plus she's a UB graduate.
Oh,
right?
that's how the Ivy Leagues get in there. That's how all those folks get those.
So
jobs,
it's like, you know, those connections. It's sometimes, you know, you go to school not to know. It's not what you know, but who you know, right?
Oh, the fact that you have that.
You have the name, right? So I'm sure that there's like
resume type of thing.
Yeah, resume. There's like things that like really do impact the ability you have, and so like kind of getting your foot in the door, right? Oh, so where'd you go?
I went to
Riverside?
Yeah.
So like, for example, think about it. You're hiring for a new camera guy, right?
Yeah.
And you get
shit.
You get 5 resumes, right? One's got no college degree. One's from, you know, UCSF or USF, and one's from, you know,
Delaware State.
Yeah, exactly, Delaware State. And then you've got a guy from UC Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably going to highlight your you know, your kind of your eye, and be like, oh, I want to talk to this guy. You know, I don't know what your mascot is at UC Riverside.
It was a bear that was dressed with a Scottish outfit.
There you go, you know, oh, here's another fellow Scottish bear. You know, so you're like, cool, like, and you know, I see it like in Texas, right, in Austin, like University of Austin at Texas is right there. Or sorry, University of Texas at Austin is right there, UT, right?
That's a cool school.
And so you sometimes, fellow Longhorn, right, and you go like this, right? So it's kind of a cool thing there. I've kind of, you know, I never really, I'm living here. It's like kind of those things you're never really exposed to. Like, at least here, like I never knew how important like college football was to follow versus down there, because really, you know, for the longest time, you only really had the Dallas Cowboys as like your main sport. In 2002, that you used to have the Houston Oilers, but then they left and they kind of were running around.
That's true.
The Houston Oilers are now what is Tennessee Titans, and then now you have the Texans.
Yeah, Houston Texans, yeah.
And so, like, you know, for people in Austin, sometimes it's like, what do I choose? And then, but now, like, most of the time with my coworkers, we're talking about, like, you know, I've got a guy that played wide receiver at OU. So, like, that's, you know...
Oklahoma U or
yeah,
Oregon?
Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma. So that's like, we're talking about that, right? I've got two gals that went to Tennessee.
Oh shit!
Right, so you're talking about those rivalries every weekend, right?
Are these people are they remote workers or are they?
No, it's hybrid.
Hybrid.
So they've ended up in Austin one way or another. But like the cool thing is you're kind of talking about these different like points and things like that, and so those rivalries come up.
Ellen, I got a question, man. I was out in Austin, right?
Yeah.
You've heard of? Have you probably been to Torchy's Tacos?
Yeah.
I was there, right? My very first time. This lady, she the counter girl. I asked, so do you guys have crunchy tacos or hard shell tacos? And she pulls a fit, dude. She's like, I'm a real Mexican. I don't consider those tacos. But then they have like, you know how McDonald's has a crunch wrap, not the what do you call it, the fried chicken. They got these weird combinations of tacos, and I don't think those are tacos, man. Like where you put like a random shit in there.
So hard shell tacos are not real tacos. I think that's an American thing. I think it's probably a Tex-Mex thing. So one of the biggest things, dude, that
does it piss you off, or do you what do you call it? People say anything?
I'd laugh at you. I wouldn't throw a fit, but I'd laugh. I'd be like, what a stupid gringo, you know. But I mean, I think the tacos you get at a local taqueria here are like the tacos that you would you get anywhere else.
Because Chipotle has I think they have hard shell tacos.
They have hard shell, but it's like
Taco Bell too. Huh?
But like the thing is here, for example, if I want, you know, I think one of the things that, like, if you remember growing up in at Reardon, what do we look forward to on Fridays?
Burritos, right?
Yeah, burrito, right? $5 carne asada or chicken burritos, right? That was like the one thing, and we loved growing up those burritos.
You would eat it too, or
I would eat it. I mean, I'd eat it. What would end up happening, right? And that grew into like I love, like, for me, my order, super burrito al pastor with everything, right? That's my go-to. Now, when we go to Texas,
oh yeah,
Mexican food there is different.
They call it Tex-Mex.
So do you remember Chevy's?
Yeah.
So Mexican food is like Chevy's
over there.
Yeah, where it's like, you know, your burrito, it's not wrapped up in foil for you to eat and all that stuff. Your burrito is drenched in some sauce and like with like a bunch of shit on the side, right?
Sour cream.
Yeah, like sour cream and all that, or like some salsa roja or verde or whatever. And so like that's what you're looking at eating, right? Mm-hmm. And then so yeah, tacos. And again, I don't know the historical factor, but I assume probably the tacos come from like the hard shell tacos come from that faction of that, and so that's where people think it's the tacos are from.
But Torchy's, they put like egg in the top. Like, what do you consider that? Like,
so I mean, those are breakfast tacos.
Breakfast tacos.
So like, yeah, like for breakfast, I'll have egg, cheese, bacon, or sausage. Bomb. When I were back there, I don't know if taco or Torchy's opens that early.
There's like that's a chain restaurant, right? Like, so
yeah, Torchy's. I love when I'm there. I love getting my.
They got good food though.
My tacos from Taco Deli, breakfast tacos.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm looking.
Is your guys' office downtown like that part of Boston?
Yeah, I'm like 2 minutes away from.
And you got to find a parking spot, or
they're open at 9 a.m. I didn't know that. That's cool. I thought they would open like at 11. They open 9 to 10.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, I mean breakfast tacos is.
Do you guys got to like find a parking spot, or do you take the bus, or somebody drops you off, or
Texas probably
Uber?
Some of the worst like public transportation.
Yeah, they do.
Like you don't. That's one thing that I'll tell you. Probably California does, because there's a couple of major cities, New York, Boston, Chicago, probably the DC area,
that have good transit.
San Francisco. I'd assume Seattle to a certain extent within the city limits has good public transportation, but Austin doesn't. So there is, from where I live, there is a train that takes me all the way downtown.
You need a car. You need a car, basically.
Yeah, you need a car. So I mean, luckily my company where I work at now, they pay for my parking.
Damn,
downtown.
Dude.
So it's kind of a nice thing. So I park in a parking lot like a couple blocks away from the office.
That's cool, man. No, that's crazy. And you just got to go there like what, Mondays and whatever day you pick.
Usually Wednesday, 2 days a week.
But before the pandemic, I guess you didn't work there, but wait, so did you move to Texas pre-pandemic?
Yeah, I moved to Texas January 2019. So I was in office every day.
In Austin?
In Austin. So we had an office on Barton Springs. And I was in office every day, Monday through Friday, essentially.
And that was your first time living outside of... that was your second time?
Second time outside of California as an adult, yeah.
How did that go for you? Like, did you have, like... You already had a kid, right?
We had 2 kids by then.
Oh, okay. Did they... Okay, so...
We had a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old baby.
Did you were renting out here or living with friends?
Yeah, we had a house in San Lorenzo. And so, we were there. And then when we moved to Texas, my original choice was Dallas.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find tech companies that would give me a job in Dallas.
Did you do that job interview remotely and you just said I'll
Yeah, so the company I went to, what ended up happening is I met the VP of sales.
Oh yeah.
And he talked to me and he knew I was coming from a similar company, and he's like, hey, we're opening a branch in SF, would you be interested, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really want to keep being in SF. I had plans to move to Texas, but it wasn't that fast. Just something happened in my old job that I was like, all right, well, I think it's time to leave. And I think I left at a good time because the company went broke within a year. And so what ended up happening was when I was talking to him, he's like, all right, here's my card. He went back to Toronto. And so, yeah, all the interviews were via Zoom. But this was still kind of the day and time where you would do most of your interviews on the phone, but then you go in for your final interview.
Oh, shit.
So, but given that I was cool, so again, I said, hey, I'm not really willing to stick around, but I was like, hey, you got any other offices you're opening up? And he's like, yeah, I've got DC, Phoenix, or Austin. And I was like, I'll go to Austin. And so that kind of became my thing where I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to Austin and
then you had to look for a place to live there, right? Like a house.
Yeah. So I mean, the funny thing is, this started happening in late October, early November. But really, the conversation kind of stalled. They had some hiring stuff. It stalled on their end, and I kept interviewing. So I was like, all right, well, whatever.
You mean interviewing other places?
Yeah, interviewing at other places. So I didn't really have anything set. And then they called me back one day and they said, hey, we want you to interview with our VP of our CEO. We want you to interview with our CEO. and I had an interview with him on the Friday before Thanksgiving. This is of 2018. So the Friday before Thanksgiving of 2018, I had an interview with him, and I thought things went well. He was like, yeah, he's like excited. He's like, love it. Like, I think you do great here. What ended up happening though is they went cold on me. So I kept kind of looking, but the original plan, what I had told him was, like, hey, let me spend the holidays at home with family. Once the new year arrives, let me, I'll move out to Texas, or like, and that also gives me time to go down to Austin, find a place, find an area, see kind of where I like to live. And, but that kind of was starting off because they went cold on me for like 3 weeks. Then one day I'm literally in the middle of a meeting with my boss at that time, and she's just like, she was just a really mean lady, nasty lady. I used to call her the witch.
To her face or behind her back?
Behind her back.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah. And I was like,
to the wall too. Shit.
I was getting off the meeting, and I texted my wife. I was like, man, the witch just chewed me out for something stupid. And I wasn't like, and she was just being a bitch.
That's happening.
And so then afterwards, my phone rings, and I see the call from the CEO, and he has a very particular name, so I knew exactly who it was. And I picked up, and he's like, hey, Alan, I'm sorry. I kind of just got sidetracked, busy day, blah, 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 this and that. We hired one guy in Austin. And so I thought when he said we hired one guy in Austin, I was like, okay, so then the job's not mine anymore. And he's like, we wanted to get him up and running. Now that he's up and running, I want you to talk to him. When can you talk to him?
It's such an arduous process, dude,
And I was like,
what do you think?
Well, I didn't think it was an arduous process. I just thought it was like so random.
Oh, but they made you wait. Like, how long did it take for you to get hired? Like a month maybe, or 2 months?
Well, I mean, I started talking to them end of October.
Oh, so
and now we're talking about first week of December.
4 weeks, 7, 8, 2 months, I guess.
Probably 5-6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And so had I gotten hired before Thanksgiving and been allowed to start on, in January, that would have given me a bunch of time to prepare. But all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, he put me in contact with the guy. We ended up finding a time to meet the very next day. We met again via, I think it was Google Hangouts back then. We met via Google Hangouts, and what ended up happening was he was like, yep, I like you. And then like within the hour, he called me and he's like, hey, how much are you currently making at your job? I lied, and I said I was making like 55 as a base. I lied. I said I was making 60, and he's like, all right, I'll give you 65.
Damn, yeah, you got to finesse in there.
And so what cracks me up is, so I basically got a $10,000 raise, and plus commissions and all that. So he's like, job's yours.
And did you say, let me think about it? Or
well, yeah. I mean, I said I was at work, because I think it was like the interview was like 3 p.m. Eastern, which was like noon here.
Yeah,
It was like during my lunchtime. And so I told the guy, I was like, okay, well, let me talk about it. And he just wanted to make sure that like he like, hey, still good plan for
you got to sign the papers,
yeah,
right? Like, yeah,
but he was like, still good plan for us to meet and for you to start at the beginning of the year. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's no problem. And so then I went home, and I was like, told my wife, I was like, hey, I got a job. It's in Austin, but we have to move basically in 3 weeks.
And finding that place in Austin, how did you do that? Like,
so my wife kind of handled all those logistics, because I was more worried about, like, we were thinking about how we're gonna move, right? And I started calling companies, and like most companies wanted like $7,000-8,000
to move your stuff.
To move your stuff. They said, how big's your house? And I said it was a 3-bedroom house. Do you have tools? Do you have this? I was like, no, it's just this. I was like, it's a crib, a bed, a king size bed, a bunch of couches. And so I told my wife, I was like, honestly,
do the U-Haul thing.
Well, I was like, we can do the U-Haul. I looked at U-Haul was still like $4,000. So it wasn't that much cheaper.
Were you scared to move at all? Right? Like,
I wasn't. My wife was because she's born and raised here, and like we moved from Seattle here to be closer to family. It just didn't work out. And so my wife was kind of scared. We had a newborn baby. My daughter was born in October, and we're moving. We're talking about moving in December. So, anyways, long story short, I told my wife, I was like, $10,000 more a month, a year. And like, for example, we went from paying like $2,500, $2,600 a month, and like every place we were looking at was like we could probably go to an ugly area and we could have probably paid $1,000 in rent for like a 3-bedroom. But we were like, we were like, no, like.
But when you applied to live there, or was it like I guess like certain apartments, they ask you for proof of income and all that.
So
you just show them the letter
the offer letter. I just showed them the offer letter, and then the.
Do they even call them and like is it? Yeah.
So what's funny is I gave them the offer letter, and then I said, oh, I also make commissions, and they're like, how much? And I was like, I don't know, like I was like probably an extra like $2,000 a month in commissions. They're like, okay, blah blah blah. That's 24. That's 90 grand. Cool. Put down to 90 grand. I was like, well, I don't have proof that I make 90 grand.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we just go by what you tell us.
Really?
And I was like, okay, cool. Like a job, And so we ended up getting a place.
Could you move to Austin? Could you have moved there without that job offer? You think, or I guess
no, it would have been. We did that when we moved to Seattle. We kind of moved without me having either one of us having a job offer, and it was hard.
How did you do that? Like, did they just say, "Okay, we'll give you this place, but you have to have like the savings"?
Oh yeah. I had. That? I mean, at that time, my wife and I,
good credit.
Yeah, we had good credit. Luckily, we've always had good credit, but we also, we had saved. Like, I think when we moved to Seattle, we had saved like 20 grand between the both of us, because both of us were working at the time.
For rent use, or
for rent, for utilities, like and we thought. I had started talking to some, because back then I was in restaurants. I had started talking to some companies about like possibly being able to find like opportunities, and so I was like, okay, like we'll figure it out. But it was hard, man. It was
with the kid too, right?
No, we didn't have a kid when we lived in Seattle. It was just her and I. We were like newlyweds, but it was hard, dude. It was shit, man. It was, I think,
like the money financially, or like physically, or
no, finding a job. So
it is hard, huh?
We moved there, and then we were supposed to live in downtown Seattle, or like close to downtown Seattle. I think it's called like Soho, the area.
I've only been there once or twice. So.
It's by like where the aquarium is, and it was kind of back then. It's 10 years ago. It was an area that was just getting newly built. And we were supposed to live there, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment, brand new building. And we had gone to tour it 2 months before we moved there. Like the rent was like $1,300, $1,400 a month. And I was like, that's totally doable. I was like, I was already paying like $1,200 a month here in San Francisco to rent a 1-bedroom. It was a 2-bedroom, but we split it. And so I was like, that's totally doable. I was like, my wife's making income, I'm making income. And so we thought that was good. And then like last minute when we went to switch up, we couldn't find the apartment. And so we found the number. My wife called, and my wife's like, well, they told my wife, sorry. They told her, well, we got bought out.
The company?
Yeah. And so like now we're under new property management. And the new property was, I don't know, some newer company. And like the rent had gone from like, $1,300 to like $1,800 a month. And we're like, okay, that's totally out of our budget. And so I told my wife, I was like, you know what? Just to play it safe, let's find some cheap place. And we were told, online, we were fucking told that Auburn, Washington was 15 minutes from downtown Seattle.
Oh, shit.
It is not. It is 40 minutes at best from downtown Seattle. And so we rented at these places called Neely Station. I don't think it's called anymore there. But we rented a 1-bedroom apartment. It was pretty cool. Like it had like a hangout area, a pool, a gym. Rented a 1-bedroom for $950 a month. I think it was a rent. Like it was like right under $950. So like you've got $15,000-$20,000 in savings. That's probably a year that you can kind of keep yourself put. But what ended up happening is I started talking to companies and all that. Couldn't find a job, dude. Like it was just hard. Like, and like some of the places where they did want me to work at was like an hour and a half away commute. And so like I was kind of getting desperate. And then finally, I got one restaurant to call me back and say, "Yep, we'll hire you." Like
to be like a manager of the restaurant,
to be a sous chef, so a cook. And so they were like, "Yeah, well, we like you. We checked your references. We think you do a good job." The restaurant opens in 2 weeks, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I can stay put for 2 weeks." 2 weeks comes by. No, actually, restaurant's getting pushed another 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, like shit. And my wife wasn't finding work, and so we were like, crap, like this isn't good. Finally, my wife found work, and she was like, yada yada yada, this and this, and she ended up finding a job at a Indian restaurant in
cool.
Bellevue, which is still like 40 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. Her hours were like 12 to 8, so it wasn't that bad. Or no, it was like 3 to 9. So it was like she would get to work before traffic started, and then she would leave work once traffic was gone.
That's not too bad.
So it wasn't too bad, and she was making like $15 an hour plus tips. But I still couldn't find a job. I was like, I can't find a job. I'm like having a hard time finding a job. And then finally,
what do you do in that situation, right? Because I think a lot of people go through that, and like it sucks, right? So you just keep hitting the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, I kept kind of applying. I wanted to really stay in like back of kitchen because my plan there was like, I want to go there. I want to make a name for myself, be a good chef, and then finally, either open up my own restaurant or find partnership with someone where it's like I can create my own menu type of thing. And so I was like, dude, I'm not finding work.
What kind of food were they serving? Like, was it Mediterranean?
No. So the restaurant where I was supposed to be at, it was kind of an interesting concept because it was based on Ernest Hemingway's.
The guy who wrote?
The writer who wrote books.
Yeah.
It was based on his travels.
What?
Like it was like we had a Cubano sandwich, but then we also had like Spanish food. We also had some like Mediterranean.
Oh, is that restaurant around still? Or?
Yeah, it's called. I don't know if they're still modeling their menu. I think it's still around. It's called Bottle and Bowl.
Dang, dude, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still around.
Man, yeah, and then you became.
They open at 4 p.m.
And then you said, "To hell with this! I'm going to be SDR or something."
No, so what happened was, I kept waiting. So we moved in September, and then like October rolled around. My wife had already found a work, but I hadn't found work, and I was like, man, I need to find something. So I started looking into like front of house jobs, and I found at some like janky bar. I found a job as like a busboy at some janky bar in Kent, Washington.
Oh yeah, I got relatives who lived over there down south, huh?
It's like, but so here's Auburn, here's Kent, and then here's Seattle. So I was like midway through, 20 minutes. I was like, what the fuck? And it was like Friday, Saturdays, but then they wouldn't tip me like to leave home. And bottom line is like, I was like, this isn't working out. Like this place is shitty. Like I was a busboy, but they made me like take out the garbage, and they made me like the dishwasher didn't show up that day, so they were like, can you start washing dishes?
They don't change your pay at all or give you more food to eat or nothing?
Well, nothing. It was like shit. And I was like, I remember like that one night, it kind of sucks. My birthday's in October. So it was like, I was kind of like pissed off. I was like, fuck this. Like, I don't know what's going on. But I was kind of pissed. And then they ended up calling me so I think my birthday was on a Friday. I ended up having to work my birthday, and they were super understaffed. And it's like whatever. I've always worked my birthday. I don't give a shit. But I was treated like horribly. Like I was like cleaning tables, then I had to rush and wash the dishes, and then I had to like restock. And then at the end of the night, like I was in like the server that was working with me. She was super nice. She only gave me like $10. And like I hadn't gotten paid in a while, so I'm like, man, this is stupid. And I asked the guy, I was like, when's the next paycheck? He's like, oh, next time.
Damn.
And I was like, what the heck? And so then I was like, fuck it. Like at the end of the shift, like I had worked 8 hours, and like to take home $10, like I was kind of like, this is shit. And so I was like, fuck it. It was my birthday. I was like, this is not a good way to spend my birthday. I was like, this kind of sucks. And I was like I was even considering like maybe we should go back to California. Like,
does that keep you up at night? I mean, not keep you up at night, but does that like that irks you, right? Because I feel like I've worked for $20 an hour before, and yeah, the boss was a bitch. So
yeah, I mean, I think more than anything, it humbles you.
Yeah, you're born to be humbled. What my good friend tells me.
It humbles you, and it's like shit. Like he's like, I mean, I think at that moment, like driving home, I was like, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. Never again do I want to be in this situation again.
Did you you ever think of like moving back with your folks or
not moving back with my folks, but I was like, all right, if it doesn't work out, we can go back to San Francisco. We can probably live for like a month or so, like in between my folks or my in-laws, while and I can find a job easily. I got connections. I can find a job. My wife can find a job.
Yeah,
but it's just like I don't want to go back home and say I failed, right? Because a lot of people are like, why are you going to Seattle? Like, what the heck are you doing in Seattle? And so luckily, like 2 days later, so I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going back there. I'm going to keep finding jobs. I'm going to keep interviewing. 2 days later, I get called back from the place that I had originally gotten hired at, and they're like, hey, can you come on Wednesday 3 through Friday because we need to we need to finish up setting some stuff. We're gonna hire you, and we need you to help us with interviews." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Fuck it, perfect." And I think there I was gonna make like 35 grand a year plus like tips. They tipped the kitchen. They were like, "Oh, with that plus tips, you should be making around 40 grand a year."
But I guess, Alan, like once you did that, like how long did it take you to, I guess, do what you're doing now, or like?
Yeah, so because of that, so that job, I began making like a paycheck.
You used to work at the bank too, right? You told me Wells
So
Fargo.
I went to Bank of America after that. So
Oh, gotcha.
So I'll tell you a little bit. So I worked there. I helped open the restaurant. We were severely understaffed.
Oh,
I was
shit.
probably working close to 80 to 90 hours a week at $34,000 for $40,000 a year. Say that. So like, think about it. $40,000. Say I maybe took 2 weeks off, right? And then that was $800 a week. But I was working 80 hours a week, making $10 an hour. And I was under constant stress, and I wasn't sleeping. And I remember finally one night, I was driving home, and I had to get up at 7 a.m. So I had to get up at 7 a.m. to be in Kirkland by like 8:30, and then I wouldn't leave till the restaurant closed, which was like 11, 12. And so I was working basically sun ups to sundown. And what happened when I was driving home, I was exhausted. It was like a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
The only good thing is I got Sundays off and Mondays off. I think the restaurant was closed on Mondays. They gave me Sundays off. So I got, so I was driving home, and I'm like leaving Bellevue, getting into Renton, and I'm falling asleep on the wheel.
Oh yeah.
And so like I was tired. I pulled over, and like I closed my eyes for like 20 minutes, and then I opened them back up, and I drove the rest of the way home. But I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm gonna kill myself one day. I'm gonna get in a car accident. And so I went back on Tuesday and tried to talk to the guy that was my boss. And I said, "Hey man, I need better hours. Like, we need to figure out a schedule." And he's like, "Yeah, once we get staff, we'll get better hours." I'm like, "No, I need better hours now, dude. Like, I'm not sleeping. I'm here all day. I don't live here." Like, he lived close by. I think it's called Cambridge Island or something like that. He lived close by. I lived an hour and 40 minutes away. I mean, the plan would have been, had I stuck there, I probably would have found a house nearby, like afterwards in that area. But I was like, I'm not, close by here. I'm killing myself. I'm making $10 an hour. I'm miserable. Uh-huh. And then I was newlywed. So my wife was like, "We're not spending any time. I'm only seeing you when I see you on Sundays. You want to sleep.
Yeah.
You're tired." Long story short is I did that for about one more week, and I was seeing that there was like no change in that. And so I remember that from applying, I had gotten a call back from a restaurant in Bellevue, which was closer to where I was, probably 20 minutes closer to where I was. And they had asked me to go to an interview, but I never answered the call. And so I picked up the phone, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna call back." And so I called, and I said, I can't remember. Sean Martin was the chef, and I said, "Hey, Chef Sean, I believe I missed a call." I kind of threw some lie. I was like, "My phone hasn't been working, so I apologize." And I was like, "Hey, are you still looking for cooks? I'm looking for a job."
Is most people's like life in the restaurant industry or working in a restaurant, is it, I wouldn't say mirrored towards like what you've experienced, but like would you say it's somewhat identical, or you think?
No, I think you can. I mean, I think probably opening restaurants is probably mirror to what it is.
Uh-huh.
I think you can make a good living if you find a good place and you get your footing in. You can definitely make some good money. I think just my luck of being in a new place, being young, being naive, kind of getting taken advantage of was kind of the thing. But despite all that, dude, I never say like, "Oh, what a horrible experience," or I take it. I'm like, man, that made me who I am today. So, anyways.
Yeah, it is.
At the same time, I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, you know what? Maybe it's time I try something different. Like, I've always worked in restaurants. Like, try something different." And that's when I got the idea to start applying. Like, I started thinking
to tech jobs and stuff,
or just jobs in general. And my mom was like, "Well, I worked in the bank when I was younger. Like, maybe apply to a bank. Like, be a teller or something like that. You get to." My mom was so proud. She's like, "You get to dress up in a nice fancy suit and all that." And I was like,
"Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, I'll do that. I'll go apply for a job. But like, those processes take like forever."
Yeah.
And so, long story short, is I got hired at that other restaurant. I left the job like overnight, didn't even show up again. Just went to show up to collect my paycheck one day, and I got hired at the other job. But the other job was paying me, I think, $16 an hour, and was offering just 4 shifts, from 12 to 10 p.m. It was like, and they were willing to give me Sundays off. So I was working Wednesday through Saturday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 40 hours, at $16 an hour. So that's like, I got a pay raise just going there. So 16 times 40. So I was making technically,
I've made $16 an hour before.
So I was making technically less because I was making like $6.40 a paycheck a week, but I had Sunday through Tuesday at home, and so like I was more happier because I was more at home, and all these things, and so I was like, fuck it, like this is cool. And, like the chef was really nice, like taught me a bunch of other stuff. I made some really good friends there too that like I later on, and then at the same time on my days, so in the mornings I would have my interviews. Finally, like a month later, I get a call. Comcast offered me a job first, and they were offering technically more OTE. You know what that means?
On target earnings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
to do sales or what kind of job?
Yeah, sales. It was like door-to-door sales for Comcast. And then I had like a week later, I had already said yes to Comcast and everything, but I kept kind of applying at Bank of America because I was like, fuck it. Bank of America offered me the job, and I was like, hey, like actually I'm going to take the Comcast job. And the lady, the recruiter, super, super nice. Her name's Chandra. Well, her name was Chandra Barney. She unfortunately passed away.
Oh, damn.
A couple years later of cancer. But she was like, hey, look, I'm going to tell you, I get a lot of guys that come from Comcast. They're not happy. They do a lot of realignments.
To work at the bank?
Bank of America. You know, you're going to have here, you can make yourself your way up, and you can become, from teller to banker to all these things. And so, she's like, you can probably make a career of yours.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay. And she's like, where's Comcast asking you to go work? And I was like some town 30 minutes away. And she's like, we're going to put you in Twin Lakes, which is 15 minutes from your house. And I was like, sure. Okay, that's not bad. And so that's how I made it. I felt bad because I quit the job. And I had made some good friends, and I really liked it.
The kitchen
job at Biz on Main. And so then I went to go work at Bank of America, and that's really how I made my start.
In the sales role?
Sales.
So from there you went to like the tech
industry? I was a teller for like only a couple months because I like really, really like surprised everybody that I was like very well prepared, very well like ready to speak and all that. And they're like, you know what? You're going to be a banker. So I became a business banker. I was there for 2.5 years. I really loved it. It's just when I moved back to California.
When you're applying for new jobs, or if you ever do apply for another job, do you put all the restaurant stuff you used to do?
No, I don't anymore.
But would you just put all the relevant stuff, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, too, like, the one thing I learned in my last hiring round, like, I was putting 10 years worth of work history, but, like, being a banker isn't as relevant now. I'm applying for sales manager jobs. It isn't as relevant anymore.
And that's what you currently do, right? Like, you're
SDR manager. So, like, one thing that I do nowadays is, like, I'll just add, like, my last individual contributor role. And then, for example, if I was to ever apply, I'd add my last individual contributor role, which I was there for like a year and a half, and then my 2 manager roles that I've had so far. 5 years, all on one sheet. That's it.
What do you think it is about sales that teaches somebody about themselves or about the world? Because, that's one job that, technically anyone can do it, right? But it's just...
It's not an easy job.
Need to be...
I think sales has a lot of translatable skills in life, right? I was reading another post yesterday about Jeff Bezos, right? Did you hear Jeff Bezos just spent like $600 million to get married, or he's about to spend $600 million?
I know he got the divorce, but he's getting married again, you say?
Yeah, he's getting married to some like young chick now. Like, look it up. Like,
no way.
Yeah, like he's married to some like Latina chick, and he's about to like drop $600 million on the wedding, right? This is a man that lost 50% of everything he had in his divorce, and he's still able to drop $600 million in a wedding. Like, outrageous, right?
Yeah, he's up there with the...
He's up there, right? So one thing I saw was, if you think about Jeff Bezos' beginning, Jeff Bezos at the beginning was just selling books, right? He was like just selling books. But he thought he wasn't making money, so then he started selling other stuff, and that's how Amazon was created, right? What ended up happening was, or what you can tell though, is that the translatable skills, like while he was no longer selling books, he was still selling something. He was selling us on a platform, on a marketplace. And therefore, the translatable skills that you learn in a sales job will take you a long way. Like, for example, you know, you have to sell people to come on your podcast. You have to sell your audience.
You gotta sell, what do you call that? That book right there.
The book, exactly. Right? So you got to go, I don't know, you got to go on different podcasts promoting the book.
Sell this book.
Exactly. You got to go on different podcasts promoting the book. You got to go to, you know, maybe you go
different
to a convention.
countries.
Yeah. Country, a convention, right? Maybe there's like
you buy one, Alan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you.
Yeah. So you got to do all these different things that'll end up getting you, you know, promoted.
Yeah.
You got to sell your image, right? You got to sell Dan Gonzalez mindsets.
Yes.
And so same thing. I think we talked about it last time we were talking. You go on a date, right? You want to, you know, take a girl out on a date. You got to sell her to some extent on the idea that spending time with Dan Gonzalez is worth it.
Is that what you did? I mean, that's what everybody does.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, to my wife, right? Like, I had to sell her that I was, you know, she laughs. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying I'm the most successful guy ever, but, you know, I've had some success in life, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, my wife and I, we reminisce since, hey, remember 10 years ago when we were struggling because we didn't have, you know, jobs, right?
Yeah, man, that's
like
a ride or die.
You know, exactly. And like today we're talking about, hey, we're going on vacation next year. We're going to, you know, London, or we're going across, right? So like the conversation is so much different, but it's taken 10, 12 years. And one thing that's funny is my wife says, she's all like, I knew you were going to turn out good. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you know, you had a lot, you sold me on the idea that you had a really good work ethic, that you had a drive to succeed. And I knew that if I stuck out with you, right, that eventually there would be, and she's not saying it because she's interested, but she's saying, hey, there was that reward that should this happen.
Plus, you're a good dude. I mean,
yeah, but you know what I mean? Like it
can't always be about money.
It can't be about money, but like she knew that when she was with me, she felt taken care of, she felt provided for, right? And she knew that that's only going to get better because I'm going to want to do that more. I'm going to grow my career. I'm going to want to do that thing, right? Versus, I mean, I don't have a specific example, but like there's people that are just deadbeats that are like can't keep a job, in between jobs and all this, and they're like, well, unemployment's gonna hit at some point, so I might as well, just live off the government, $600 a week or whatever, right? It's like when COVID happened,
they gave us that stimulus.
People were getting paid like $1,000 a week to stay home, right? That's $4,000 a month, almost tax free. You had to pay 10% tax, but almost tax free. And like I had friends that were completely like, just like, I'm chill. I'm like, oh, you're not looking for work? No. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, if I was in that situation, the very next day I'm throwing my resume everywhere. Why? Because I don't want to live off $4,000. Like I want to feel productive and want to do that. So again, going to that, like that, I think for a lot of women that can be an attractive trait, right? Like you've got your own business, you've got your own podcast.
Got a book, brother?
Yeah, exactly.
I got this shit right here, bro.
Don't go around and like flaunt it and be like, hey, startup mindsets, would you like to go out? Would you like to make out? You want to come over to my place and have some fun? Like, no, but like, if a girl gets to know you and you're like, hey, I'm Dan Gonzalez and, I'm a really good dude and like chill and
I'm not a serial killer.
Exactly. I mean, I think half of it is I'm not a serial killer. I'm not going to beat you.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not, a drunk or a drug addict. I think you've got half the battle, but you have to sell the woman on that idea. But if you're on the first day and you're talking about, well, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, well, I'm blazing it up with my boys. You're like, oh shit, dude, you're almost 30. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, and it's like, there's some people like that. There's some people that might have a good job, but that's all they do. They have no drive. The girls are going to think, whoa, no.
Damn, man. Dude, Alan, it's cool that I was just driving in the city, right? And I just saw you at Irving and...
last summer. Yeah.
I was going to yell out, but I was like, fuck, I don't even know if that's Alan, because I kind of was far away.
That I wasn't there anymore.
But then I hit you up. Dude, no, it's cool. I guess, like, I don't know if too many people could do that. Like, they see somebody they haven't seen in, like, 10 years and just... It's like
recognize
you never skipped a beat or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you call that? What did you think you would be in high school when you, or what did you want to be like professionally, or I don't know, just, do you have like, because we wrote for the newspaper, I think, right? I
wrote for I mean, I thought, I tried different, originally as a kid, I thought I was going to be an architect. I love houses. I love building stuff. Absolutely love building stuff. So I think in 7th, 8th grade, I started saying I'm going to be an architect. That's, when you kind of start slowly having like conversations about your future, and I was like, I'm gonna be an architect. I'm gonna be an architect. And I'm gonna be an architect. And I think I told you this story, and if I didn't, I apologize.
That's all good.
I think it was either sophomore or freshman, sophomore year. I took geometry class. You remember?
I had Bethel. Yeah, remember?
No,
Mr.
I had
Bethel?
Valverde.
She hated me, dude. She was nice to everybody, but I was.
You know what? It was freshman year. It was second semester of freshman year, second block.
Oh shit. Oh, okay.
Remember we were in the block, so we took 4 classes one semester, 4 classes the next semester.
Yeah,
And they were like what, 80, 90 minutes long? Do you remember?
80, man. I thought about that today. I was like, I would have already be done with the class by that one time I woke up.
Yeah, exactly. And so like,
but now they don't. They have like easy life now. Like,
do they really? I mean, they've gone so soft.
Yeah, man.
And so
Yeah.
I had geometry class, and I absolutely hated geometry.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I almost failed the class. That is the only math class I did not get an A in.
Oh yeah, tangents are tough, dude.
I ended up getting a C. I think C plus.
I got a C minus in algebra too, dude. I could not.
Dude,
do that
I got
for the
algebra.
I could not.
Algebra 1, 2, stats. I think I took pre-calc, all A's. Like it was literally it was the funniest thing because like you would see the honor roll and like the grades, and you see all the Asian kids had their names A.
They were getting that ass beat if they didn't get that grade.
And then it was like I was the only Mexican kid with an A in math.
Oh shit!
Like I think that maybe if anything, do you remember Eduardo Santos?
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah,
He's a doctor now.
He's a doctor.
Or
Yeah, I think he was
like
the
that.
only other Latino kid that would get an A in math.
Damn.
And then it was like Latino. There was like everybody else got an A in math. So after that, I was like, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna be an architect." And so I kind of went mundane. Like I didn't know. I was like, so I tried the newspaper because I really like sports, and I was like, oh, maybe I can be a sportscaster. And like at home, I would play FIFA, and like I would like do my own commentary and like play by play. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I talked to my dad. My dad was like, yeah, you could probably be a sportscaster, like this. And so that's why I wrote for the newspaper. But I wasn't really like all about it. And then
did you have any sales like ideas or I don't know? Did you?
No,
you used to sell weed too? No.
No, I never sold.
No.
No.
Under the table? No.
No. No, only cocaine.
Only cocaine. Man.
The one thing where now that I think about it, I don't really knew the thing is I didn't really knew I was in sales until I was in sales. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I was looking for it, but like now that I remember it, it's like, so the one thing I noticed is that at the end of every semester, I think this started happening my end of freshman year. At the end of every semester, do you remember how they have they would have the recycling cans out on the hallways? And I noticed that a bunch of people would throw away the recycling books or the books from the year, the recycling bin. So what I started doing that one time is I picked up enough books that I can fit in my backpack and in a bag and took them home. And it was like mostly like books that I knew we were going to use in sophomore year.
Oh shit! You resold them on Instagram?
And not Instagram, but I resold them like person to person. So like first day of school, we would come back, and I come back with a big ass backpack, and I hated it because I had to take the bus, so I had to carry my backpack and another big ass backpack, and I would get another locker, about another lock and another locker, and just put all the books there. And then anybody ever come up to me and say, hey, I'm looking for Stats 101 or whatever.
You're the plug.
And I was like, I think I probably have a pair. And I would look up how much the book would cost online, used.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably sell it for like $5 less.
Oh, yeah.
And so if it costs you like $75, I'd be like, Dan, I can get you that book for $70. Boom. So then afterwards, what I started doing is I would wait for everybody to dump, and it's like 100% profit.
Can you believe a tuition there now is like $25K and up?
Yeah, back then it was like $14K.
It's like 12, I think.
13, $14K when we were there.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think it's too high, or would you send your kids to a school that?
I would not send my kids to Reardon. The simple fact that I would not send my kids to Reardon is that Reardon is. How
did you get in? You were just like, I like the school, or your mom?
No, so I went to public school. I went to public school most of my life in the U.S. since I moved to the U.S.
Did you go to St. Finbar or
no? I went to.
Oh, that's not a public school.
No, I went to Spring Valley Elementary, for elementary, and then I went to Francisco Middle School, 6th and 7th grade, which is up by Fisherman's Wharf.
Oh shit!
And then in 8th grade, when I was about to switch to 8th grade, like it was the end of 7th grade, and one day my dad's like, "Hey, like put on a nice shirt. Someone's coming to the house." And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, yeah, someone's coming to the house. They're going to interview you. And I was like, what?
Really?
Interview me for what? And so there's this school in the Tenderloin called the Marriott Academy.
It's not around anymore?
No, it's still around.
Oh, it's around.
And so the Mariac is a
Private school?
it's a private school for low income kids.
Okay.
So I think my dad at that time only had to pay like $50 or $100 a month.
Were you in Achieve at Reardon at all? No.
No.
That's where the broke, not the broke, but
yeah, I mean, but I was a
lower.
broke kid. Like I was a low income kid. Like I don't think my dad ever made more than 40 grand a year when me growing up, right? Like it was like I was low income for a city like San Francisco. So anyways, I got interviewed, I got into that school, and the Mariac, their purpose is they'll send you I think it's 4th through 8th grade at their school, completely, private education, completely for free.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay but $100 a month, $100 a month, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to from there. I went to they give you the option. They have a big connection with Sacred Heart, but for some reason I ended up liking Stewart Hall. I don't know if they exist anymore.
I think they're around. Yeah, I knew somebody who went there.
And so I really like Stewart Hall, but Stewart Hall was 30 grand a year.
Damn.
And so I guess
what do you get out of that? Is it like, I mean, not you, but like, what do these kids get out of it?
I mean, you have it's more prepper school, and it's like a 10-to-1 ratio or something like that. Was like the
dude, that's not gonna do shit for the kids.
I went. You know how they do the student days where like they, you used to have someone.
The shadow shit.
Yeah, the shadow
stuff.
And so I went shadow, and I absolutely loved it. And I was like, Stewart Hall's my first choice. Everybody wanted to go to Sacred Heart, and it was, again, this is 2008, right?
They had some good looking chicks for.
Oh,
that would be a reason to go.
What was the other? Stewart Hall was an all boys school.
A convent.
Dude,
Yeah.
Convent had some hot white girls.
They did. A lot of them were lesbians too.
Are they? I don't know, man. I remember I was like, hot light skinned girls. Convent, yes, I'm there. Like I was talking to the guy. The guy was a freshman, and I was like, and he's like, yeah. And he's like, we do all these parties, and I was like, that's it. 3 blocks from my house too.
Oh, okay.
It was 3 blocks from my house. I would have it was nothing. Anyways, and at the Mariac, we're all low income kids, right?
Uh-huh.
And at the Mariac, it was a bunch of fucking kids that were like, oh, this is that, and the Mariac, everybody wanted to go to Sacred Heart at the Mariac. If they didn't go to Sacred Heart, then some kids went to public school, but then most of the other kids, if you didn't get into Sacred Heart, you were known as a reject.
Oh yeah, I didn't get into that school.
And so then Reardon would take all the boys, and either ICA or Mercy would take all the girls.
I didn't want to go to the Sacred Heart though, because dude, it was just, I don't know, Reardon. I liked it.
I wasn't sold on the school, dude. Like I was like, this is a cool thing, but I was like, I'm not sold on it. I was like, whatever. And I went to Reardon, and I was like, okay, whatever. This isn't a school, but I applied through all 3 of them. I got into Stewart Hall, but I couldn't get the money to go to Stewart Hall.
It's expensive, right?
Yeah, because I think the tuition, like the Mariac, which good enough program, right, covered your full tuition for either Sacred Heart or ICA. I think St. Ignatius too, but I didn't get into SI. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if I applied or
I didn't apply to that one. I only applied to Reardon and SHC.
Yeah, and so I got into Sacred Heart because it came down to the wire where and it was funny because I was like, once I found out I didn't get into Stewart Hall, it was Stewart Hall, and not that I couldn't afford Stewart Hall, it was Reardon, or it was waitlisted. I was waitlisted at Sacred Heart, and so I asked our admissions high school counselor. I was like, why did I get waitlisted at Sacred Heart? I was like, this retard kid got in, and I didn't get in. Like, why didn't I get in? And they're like, well, when you were there, you didn't show much interest. But I had already gone to Stewart Hall, so I was like, whatever, I'm going to Stewart Hall. So it's things that you learn in life where it's like, you got to show up for everything, and you show up good. I was like, whatever. And it ended up happening for a reason. The only thing that sucked, at least for me, for Reardon, was our sports teams sucked the whole time we were there. I think basketball was good our senior year. But wrestling
now they're really good, which is cool.
But soccer, we were the laughing stock of everything. It had the thing where it's like, it was funny is all the kids, again, low income Latino kids, they were all like, dude, you're gonna come out of Reardon being gay, and I was like, no. And so that was the big thing. Like anybody that goes to Reardon, they're gay, right?
Now it's co-ed, so you can't say that.
Now it's co-ed, but yeah, man. going back to your question, would I put my kids? I would not. I would not put my kids. I also wouldn't. My kids are not in public school, but I would not put my kids in Reardon. Given that Reardon, at least at the time that we were there, right? They had their kind of dogma or their like doctrine. This is what we believe in. Yeah. And remember, we had the whole like statue of the Virgin Mary and all this. Yet the one thing that I noticed is that there was a lot of gaps in their inconsistencies in the way their staff worked. Like the biggest thing was they at that time still, and I think at this time too, if you're Catholic, you believe that homosexuality is wrong. Now, I'm never going to go and attack someone for being gay or whatever. As long as you're an adult, I don't give a shit what you do with your life. You do your thing. I'm going to respect you. I've had great friends that are, in that sense. It's just at that time I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why are you hiring? I think they hired a lesbian teacher, and I was like, why are you hiring an openly lesbian?
Dude,
like,
that's San Francisco though, huh?
But that's San Francisco. But like, that's the thing. I'm like, you're a Catholic school.
Yeah.
You have to, it's like, and I don't think they've done it. I mean, I don't know.
Cities,
like, it's the same reason why there's no female priests and there's only male priests, right? Yeah. And that's like the equivalent of that. Like if there's San Francisco, if you went to St. Mary's Cathedral, and all of a sudden it was a woman being like, I'm going to lead procession today. And it's like, no, that's not Catholicism.
Are you still Catholic now? Or
I'm not. I'm Christian now. Like non-denominational Christian. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I just don't believe in the saints.
Shit, yeah.
But that was the one big thing that I had an issue with. Aside from there was a couple other things where I had issues with, right? And it's like, if a school can't stick to their principles, like for example, if one of their principles, if they were a private school that was not associated to a religion, and they were hiring teachers that were gay or lesbian, I had no issue. But it's like, if you have one way of thinking, why do it like that? Why go against your beliefs? And so then, if you're bending the rule on that one thing, what else are you not bending the rule on? There was a lot of inconsistencies there too with Reardon. Like, if you had certain last name, your last name had a weight around there.
Had a wait?
Wait.
Oh yeah. Like a reverence type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, not that we had any, but like, if someone's last name was Isola,
okay.
That was a weight there. Like that was a preference there. And I was like, no, like what the heck,
Man, that's wild. I guess we've been on here for like an hour and a half. A couple last things, Alan. I know that you've had like a lot of success in sales, so I wanted to ask about I guess like what's your, I mean, I guess like to get into like what that is, and closing deals that are worth like a lot of money, right? Like, did you I guess like there's a team, right? But like for you, do you feel like when you close like a big deal or another company, I guess like when you would do something like that, did that change like how you perceived yourself after you did one of those things, or are you always
I mean, I think it gives you an ego boost, right? I always tell my reps that the best time to close a deal is when you've just closed one. There's something called closer's high. So I think that absolutely gives you a boost in your morale. I don't necessarily, I mean, I think I've met people that they've had a good string or they've been good salespeople that their ego can get high, right? Because all of a sudden you're seeing your name at the leaderboard, you're number one. And you're just like, shit, like, I'm the shit, right? And, there's a saying about their shit don't stink, right? They think their shit don't stink. And I think that can do that.
Yeah.
I think for me, mostly, and this is something I kind of carry with myself, where it's like, I'm thankful that I had a tough life growing up. It kind of kept me humble. Where it's like, it still kept me humble, right? Like,
because if you weren't humble, maybe you'd like, have too much pride, and that would like mess you up.
Exactly. I mean, I think
it messes a lot of people up.
Messes a lot of people up, and it's like, sometimes like,
and they don't know how to deal with tough.
If you climb up high too fast, the way down can hurt a lot more, right? I think life's all about ups and downs. Today I have a good stability. I don't know about tomorrow, right? And I've always kind of maintained that thinking of like, I should be humble. I should. The people that have helped me on the way up, I've definitely thanked them for that, and I always will be thankful for that. But I do think that I don't know, like I think that it can definitely, for some people, I know some people that definitely like it just gets into their head, it gets into their mind, they're kind of a little bit all over on that. But for me, it doesn't. Like for me, and I told my reps too, I was like, hey, great thing. I was like, what makes someone good to great
Yeah.
is the amount. Yeah, again, it's the amount of consistency. Yeah. There you go. It's how consistent you can be in something that you do over time, right? You think about, you've got a poster here of Kobe, right?
R.I.P. to Kobe.
What's up? I know.
R.I.P.
Yeah. But like, okay, think about it in this point. Had Kobe Bryant won one championship, one MVP, and then completely disappeared. You never heard the name Kobe. It was never a household name. Would you remember him today?
It'd be hard, but I mean, maybe.
Maybe, right?
Not, yeah.
But what did Kobe do that kind of set him aside from the rest? He won multiple championships, multiple MVPs over and over and over again.
Yeah, consistency, yeah.
And so that's what I tell my reps is like, if you can be consistent, I can go up and close any deal. I think you can train a kid to close $1 million deal if you give them good. You can do it once, right? Then they lose track. But if you can do that over and over again,
how do you develop that, like wanting to do that type of? It's
motivation, man. I think it's the motivation. Like, I mean, for me, my motivation is I never want to be poor. I don't want my kids to ever suffer from being, poor, right? Or from me as a father being like, sorry, I can't sign you up for that because I don't have money, right? I think that's always my motivation to kind of keep pushing. And there's days where I'm like, I'm mentally drained. Right before I came here to San Francisco, I was like, man, I don't.
What's the end of the year?
End of the year, and I was like, I mean, I was like literally like Wednesday morning, I was like, fucking, like tomorrow I'm gonna call out sick. But it was like, no, like I gotta go and show up and finish working hard, right, to the finish line.
What does work look like for you as a manager or a SDR? Like, what do you call it, leader or
SDR manager? I mean,
you just watch people do sales.
No. I mean, my day is composed of like one-on-one meetings. So I spend my like an hour and a half in one-on-one meetings a day. But then you got to prep for it. Like I can't just show up and come here and you tell me, and I'm like, what do you want to talk about, Dan? No, like I make sure, at least as a manager, I make sure that you come prepared to the conversation and then I come prepared to the conversation. So I have like sheets there that like I have a running Google Doc and I say, hey, here's the points that you want to touch. Here's the points I want to touch with you, right? And I tell my reps, have it ready an hour before you meet with me. So if we're meeting at 12, I want to see that sheet ready at 11. So I'm taking a glance and I'm preparing for it. I'm looking at it and I'm doing this. So that's about an hour and a half, right? Think about an 8-hour day. Hour and a half, it's that. I'm probably doing 30 minutes of admin work, 30 minutes of admin work.
Admin work is like putting stuff on a computer and all that.
So like checking, so like Salesforce, right? So we get like inbounds, we get deals get moved. I'm making sure the deals are moved correctly, that there's the correct information. I'm making sure that
the money's wired and all that, or
no. I don't deal with that end because we're only kind of setting up meetings. But I'm making sure that like deals have the right information. If we're moving it, we call it a stage 2 bump. That's how we get paid. If we're moving it to stage 2, have we actually talked to this customer? Have we actually uncovered a need? What are the notes? What are the next steps? Are the next steps set up, right? And so like you're doing that for a lot of conversations that are going in day out. And so I'm making sure that that's that. Are we touching our inbounds? Are we getting into our inbounds fast enough? And so you're kind of having to read that in there. There's also like, for example, when I first got a new team, and I don't think that they were doing this purposely, but to help each other out. The AEs were kind of saying, hey, like, Dan, come on into this meeting. If you set up the invite for this meeting, I'll give you credit for it. I can't, as a manager, I can't have you get paid on that because you didn't do shit besides send an invite. So, like, I have to make sure that people are not doing that, right? They're not aiming to
police the system. Or police the...
And so, like, that's kind of my beginning and end of day, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there.
Yeah.
And then I spend about another hour with rep calls, like on conversations or reps, calling, assisting them, ensuring that, hey, like here's what we're doing, or hey, here's how you should respond to these emails. It's about another hour, probably hour and a half. You're looking at probably right there, that's 3-4 hours of my day.
Do you find that this type of work it's like ideally, like, I mean, think about it, it's like a lot different from restaurant work, right? Where you don't.
Less physical.
You're not. Yes. How do you? Oh, like on your body? You mean?
Like,
yeah. Standing too and like cook.
Yeah.
How do you? I guess like compare and contrast those two different. I mean, the pay is better, right? But then also it's like maybe, they're just completely different industries, right?
It's completely different. I mean, I love the restaurant industry. I think everybody should work in some sort of service job at some point in their life because it's going to give you like life building skills.
Yeah.
But at least for me, it's not that, man. Like I thought when I was younger, I was like my dream was to own a restaurant. That was always my thing. I want to own a restaurant. But now when you think about it, it's like restaurants have the slimmest margins, dude. If I'm processing $300,000 in sales a year,
It costs a lot to run too, huh?
yeah, I'm probably banking 2% at most.
On the bottom line, or like on your individual salary? Or are you talking about
Yeah,
bottom line?
like how much I'm taking home, like as a owner.
Oh,
Because I mean, for any business, your biggest cost is usually salaries, right?
labor. Yeah.
Yeah, labor. So like, labor's at 20%, but then like, if you've got to add rent, you've got to add, taxes, you've got to add benefits, right? Now in San Francisco, like there's the Healthy SF mandate, right? Where it's like, you got to give everybody socialized healthcare.
Yeah.
You've got to pay, utilities, right? Light, water, gas, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you've got to pay, actual, if I'm making ceviche, how much does the halibut cost? How much does and when we're kind of at the beginning, right? All that shit impacts. All of a sudden, the cost of gas went $1 up. I got to raise my menu prices $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And so on a dish that you're selling for $30, a restaurant really is maybe taking home $4
$4
at most. It's $3, $4.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in I guess California or this part of the country?
I mean, one thing in earlier made me hungry. That I might go there after this.
We gotta go sometime. Yeah, maybe we'll go. Yeah.
La Corneta.
Oh, the Glen Park one.
Yeah, I want.
They only take cash. I was there 2 days ago. So
were you really? That was the first.
I didn't have cash.
we came from the airport, and we literally drove straight to La Corneta to pick up a burrito. That was like the one thing we did. That's probably, I love their burritos. I think more than anything for my wife and I, it makes it that we don't have that in San Francisco.
Or in Austin?
In Austin. So when we come to San Francisco, it's like a must have multiple times. At least like twice a week.
Where would you rank as like that on the list of taquerias or Mexican restaurants? Compared to like El Farolito or maybe like a Pancho, I don't know what else the other one's called.
I think El Farolito's good. I heard my mom was saying the other day that La Taqueria was pretty good.
Oh, that one, yeah, that one's
she said like,
kind of bougie. But.
Next time go get a taco from there. I think probably top three. El Farolito, La Corneta, and then
there's a bunch here, huh?
Maybe La Taqueria. I haven't really gone there.
Dude, now I have a problem where it's like I don't want to eat. I've been to that like all these places so many times. It's like I don't know where to eat, so I'll just drive myself crazy. But I'm learning how to cook, man. I'm getting a little bit better. You know how to chop onions, right? Like you just do it with the.
Well, you can do it multiple ways. You can do it like diced, sliced. You can do it really finesse.
Do you wash the onion first or no?
No, I mean
just cook it and
just peel it off.
Have you ever eaten an onion like just raw from? No, that's crazy. That's savage stuff.
Yeah, I don't even think your teeth can cut because the onion's pretty thick.
Yeah.
I don't know if your teeth can cut through it. I wouldn't want to try it.
Yeah. Do you cry sometimes when you cut it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for real?
Yeah, like my eyes get
even with the glasses on.
Yeah, my eyes start burning.
Oh fuck!
Like, I feel like you're burning in my eyes, and then you're obviously crying.
Damn, I'm gonna need to toughen up.
It's normal. Yeah, I'd probably say that. The other thing I look forward to, or like I like to eat, is growing up. It's no longer there, but I grew up on Pine Van Ness. 3 blocks from there on Polk Street. I think it's Polk in Sacramento.
But Swan Oyster Depot.
No, I never really liked.
I've been there
oysters.
one time.
I heard oysters are good if you want to get horny. It's like one thing I heard they're good for.
I never had them, so I never. Have you ever had one? You've never had one?
Yeah, I've had them. They're.
I'm a man of God, bro. We don't
wait until marriage. There you go.
There we go.
There used to be a Korean place called Hansabachi.
Oh yeah.
I think Polk Street. Yeah, now there's only one on Irving, I think.
Oh yeah, Irving and I know about that. Yeah.
So I really love their barbecue Korean. I think the only place where I've tasted it that's good enough in Texas has been when I've gone to Cilantro and ordered their bowls.
Oh shit!
But yeah, that's probably another place that I need to go eat at. Hansabachi.
That's a cool
Spicy
spot.
barbecues work. Other than that, dude, I'll just rather eat at home. Like, I'll cook a steak. I'll cook some chicken.
What kind? What would you like? What kind of dish with the chicken? Just chicken and
chicken, rice, and beans. Simple. I mean,
would you grill it, fry it? Like, would you
grill it?
Grill it.
Pan-sear it.
Pan-sear it.
I mean, the thing is, it's like different places. I think. I mean, if I was in the Pacific Northwest, like if I went to Seattle, I'd probably want to eat some, some more seafood, some fish sticks, some stuff like that. When I go to Mexico, I'm eating, tacos from the street. I love milanesa, which is like just breaded chicken.
Oh yeah.
You when I go to Boston, for some reason I love eating Italian food there. Kind of the thing there. I don't know, Miami. You want to have some. My one thing my wife loves when we go to Miami is she loves to have cafe. Cafecito from like the Cuban cafe, which is a little more concentrated.
Well, you've been to Miami?
Yeah,
like a lot or a little bit?
A couple times.
I was just there this year, man. I got the shirt in Miami, bro. Wynwood Walls. Fuck. I was out in downtown and then Brickell, but what part of Miami where did you guys go to?
We've gone like Calle Ocho, like the
Calle Ocho,
Celia Cruz Calle, like we're all the kind of Cubans. Then we'll go out to Miami Beach and like hang out. Like we go
South
more
Beach?
for the no, not South Beach. I won't go to South Beach. Like
I've been there
with the family. I won't go to South Beach. Like my wife and I, maybe we go to South Beach. If it was a boys trip, maybe I'd go to South Beach. It can get a little rowdy there.
The nightclubs, you mean? Oh, you mean just in general?
Just in general, like yeah.
Wait, so what's the other place you were talking about? You go to Miami Beach, which is north of like Fort Lauderdale or no?
Kind of the Fort Lauderdale area, a little more bougie.
Damn, dude. Did you see that Niners game the other day? Or
suck.
Yeah, they suck.
No,
in Miami, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah. No, I'm actually, the one thing is I now that I'm here, I'm actually need to check. My son wants to go to a football game, and so I thought that with the Niners sucking recently, that maybe tickets would be cheap. When I first checked, this is like pre-Thanksgiving, tickets were like $200
for
the game.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's 4 of us, so that's $800 I have to pay.
Oh yeah.
Plus $50 parking, plus gas. You're spending about $1,000.
They gotta pay.
Yeah, so I'm hoping the other day. Yeah, they've gone down. See, the other day, now that they've been eliminated, they were they were selling tickets for like $160. They're now $137.
Okay.
The cheapest, and you can. I mean, I need 4 tickets. You can get tickets that's cheap for 2 people for $131. If they drop to $100, I'd probably go.
Okay, I guess like last question, Alan, or last 2 questions. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, dude.
Well, thanks for having me again.
This was a fun time. Yeah, man. What is it called? I guess like when you've like throughout your career as working in sales, like what is something you've learned that could help somebody close a deal, or I don't know, like a bigger like expense, like a. Yeah, I guess like it's easy to close things that aren't expensive. Like, yeah, what is something you'd say like, isn't that advice you'd give to somebody to
wants to close the deal?
Yeah,
I think no matter what the deal size, the deal cycle can be similar. The most important thing that I can tell
someone. Let's put that camera on you, man. Oh. Let's make sure it's like, oh shit, not here. Not here.
The most important thing that I can tell somebody when you're closing a deal or when you're getting to know a customer is the most important thing I can tell them is listen to your customer. Let them talk, let them speak. So for example, I mean, I think you've done a pretty good job or a good job so far of, you have me here. You want to learn something from me, right? You've let me talk. I probably, if there was some monitor, probably 75%, 80% of the time I've talked, you've kind of listened in and chimed in. That's a good, if you think about the good podcast, right? Like Joe Rogan, right? Think about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan kind of hangs back a little bit and lets the other person talk, lets the other person say things and kind of go off. And he asks, he's like, oh, what about this? What about that? What? And like, same thing in sales, right? I want to know, I'm selling you some software, some security software or camera software. Like I'm selling you a camera setup for your office, right? I'm not going to come in here. I would be a horrible salesperson if I barged in here and said, Dan, I can put a camera there, some audio here, and then we can insulate this so that the noise stays in. We don't have to hear noise from outside. We don't have to hear this. Perfect. What do you think? You want to buy? You'd be like, dude, I don't really need this room to be insulated. I actually like that it looks like we're just chilling and having a drink.
Yeah.
Versus if I come in and say, hey, Dan, like, tell me a little bit about your setup. Oh, well, I like this and this and this. Okay. And And then, can you tell me a little bit more about like where do you want to go with your podcast? Well, I really want to provide a laid back. Okay, laid back. So would you like to do multiple camera angles or just kind of one camera angle? Like it's kind of being shot, randomly. Like what do you think? So that ends up providing a lot of good emphasis to what we're to what you're doing, and you get to know your customer. And now I think the last time I told you. Now I can solution tell you, hey, I think this package would be good, or I think these options would be good for you. And what do you think? Do you think that would make sense? Oh yeah, that actually makes sense for me. Perfect. Let's go ahead and sign a contract. Let's do it. Same thing. I mean, if I can let you talk and you tell me everything you've got, I start steering you to where I want you to go.
You want to know what they want, right? Like that's the psychology.
What the situation is. There's something I like to teach, but I like to teach with my reps. It's called spin selling. Probably one of the oldest selling methods. But spin selling stands for S. I'm asking you questions, establish your situation, establish who you are, establish what you're doing. Then I'm going to P, problem, trying to find the problems in your
That could work for anything, like advertising, anything. Right? Yeah.
I, implication, if you don't change this, what's going to happen? Or if you were to change this, or if you were to do this a certain way, how is that going to impact? And then N is for need payoff. So how can we make sure that, my product ends up validating your needs? Boom, boom, this and this.
Need payoff.
Need payoff, yeah. So the same thing. I mean, I think in any sales process, if you can follow those steps, you're going to be in a good route.
I'm going to use them, man. And I'm going to ask you questions because I'm probably new to that stuff. But yeah, we're looking at selling the book to some organizations and how I could like get on some speeches and shit like that.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you go to VCs, right? You talk to them and say, hey, like, when you're trying to get, I know a lot of, and I think you did this where you worked at
a VC, yeah, I worked at.
Was it you that worked at one where you were basically trying to find founders that would join the combinator?
No, it was. I think we were just looking for things to invest in.
Okay, there's one guy I talked to, and that's
you invest in things, Alan, or do you invest in startups or anything like that?
I've done a couple of like crowdfundings. I've lost most of my money there.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll invest in like stocks and ETFs and all that, but. I don't know, if someone came in with a good plan and then maybe really think about it, I'd probably be like, okay, like let's talk about it. But the opportunity hasn't really risen for me to do that. I probably need more capital anyways.
Yeah, man, I the place I used to work for, like I was like an apprentice there, so it's not necessarily like they were paying me or anything, but they gave me some equity or like some upside in some startups, and that's kind of where this whole like idea I met the guy who what's it called? I co-wrote the book with over there. And it's been the funny thing is about podcasts is like I learn a lot about other people, but I never really tell what I've been through. So I guess I got to go on some other podcasts, but it's
maybe go to someone else's podcast. Like
man. Yeah.
I mean, you've told me that you've got people like you can probably pull in. Like you should probably sell your book. Go in there and talk about why startup mindsets and what startup mindset solves as a book.
Solves as a book, yeah, for real.
Yeah, like what is it? Is it I mean, I kind of glanced at the book.
I don't know what it does, but I mean, I got to discuss. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, man. Like to answer that question, I just wanted to write a book, but then you got to put the layers of like how does this?
Like, is it for me as a potential founder? Does this give me the viability, or does this give me a blueprint on maybe where I should start looking for funding or where I should start looking for marketing my company? Things like that.
The niche, the niche,
and that's what I would think. I had a guy one time
try to sell you a book.
No, I had a guy that kind of, but one time it's funny. At one point, it was about 5 years ago. I almost left like the tech industry, and I thought about going to, because I mean, tech can be harsh, dude. Tech is like,
I think there's a lot of pretentious people there.
Yeah, but I mean, like for example, like right now, tech is hammering, dude. Like, tech is being hammered, absolutely.
Like losing money, you mean?
Yeah, layoffs left and right. With interest rates the way they are, like money isn't as cheap, so therefore, you really, I think for a long time, tech kind of got on this like bubble of like grow at every expense, and now it's like really like, how can we grow to turn a profit as a tech company? And so I think that has changed a lot of mentality, and that's why there's a lot of layoffs. That's why there's a lot of companies that before you used to think, like for example, is it better.com? They do mortgages.
I don't know. Betterment? No, that's
No, I
not
think
it.
it's better.com. I remember I almost got a job there a couple years ago.
Doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, better.com, being an MLO, right? And typically, traditionally, mortgage loan officers get paid, I think it's 0.5% or 1% of the loan, right? Which is kind of when we buy a house, it's in our loan costs. And so 0.5%, 1% of the loan. And that's how you get paid. So better.com introduced this like no commission for the mortgage loan officers. They're here to help you, more like buyer friendly type of thing. But it just doesn't work because you don't have the MLOs or the people selling being motivated to find an incentive to make money.
So it starts with the motivation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the motivation. So therefore, I think they've gone through a couple of rounds of layoffs, and I think even they were criticized because at one point the CEO was like on a camera like this, and he's looking at his phone. He's like, "Yeah, so therefore, because of this, you're now laid off." Right? And it was like kind of I can tell you afterwards. There's a video about it, and so they prioritized for so long the growth of the company without caring. They were overpaying people, and because I think some people were making like 90 grand, maybe closing a loan a month. And it's like,
oh yeah.
what the fuck? Unless you're closing $1 million loans, you're not really paying for yourself. And so therefore, a lot of the tech companies. So anyways, going back to what you're saying, I thought about it, and I thought you're gonna laugh. I thought about I was like, what's easy and fast to open up as a business? And I thought about opening up a pressure washing business.
Not a bad idea, yeah.
But I found this guy. Like, I started doing my research online, and I was like, yeah, I only need about like $2,000. And like I found this guy that kind of I messaged him, and he was super nice.
He knows how to do the job.
Yeah, he had just started, like, ex-Marine and all that. And like the first thing he's like, "Hey man, here's my book, but I'm gonna tell you A through B how you can set up your own business and all that." And it was like $25 that he was selling his book for, and I bought it, and I still have it at home. And yeah, it tells you like A through Z, like anything, like puts it all there, right? Like, yeah, the resources are probably online between YouTube and Facebook groups and forums and all that, but he put it all together in a way where it made sense. And I think if you can promote in a similar way your book, Startup Mindsets, to potential founders and say, hey, for $20, I can give you a really good blueprint on how you can talk to VCs and this and that and that. I think.
Fuck, dude, we gotta get funding to hire you to work for us, bro.
You can maybe one day. You can with
or even mindset, advertising. Like I've sold like a couple grand in ads, but like dude, just it's like when you're doing all the different stuff like this included, and like you're like, what the hell? It's hard to focus on the exact thing you need to focus on. That's what I realized in life is like you need to focus on the exact thing other than 100 things in that way.
Yeah, I think
or maybe 20 things or 10 things at once, your
podcast is called Startup Mindsets. I think and I think from the ones I've heard, like, you bring in people from different backgrounds and like.
Yeah, man, I brought in a restaurant owner a couple times.
Yeah, I think that makes it, but like, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, if you had the opportunity, I wouldn't necessarily bring in, Jeff Bezos to talk, unless he's going to talk exclusively about his beginnings and how he got first VC funding for Amazon. Like, I wouldn't talk to him and have him sit down here and talk to you about how he has a multi-million-dollar business and how he's dealing with merchants in China and all this stuff. Like, that doesn't really add value to it. But like, I mean, potentially me, right? You might not necessarily have me as a resource of like, I can talk to you more about sales or life experience or things like that, but like, I might not be the best. I mean, I've been in seats or Series A companies and Series B's. They can talk to you about like what the life is there, but might not be the best. So like, I think if you do make that pivot to just kind of that
smaller
seed stage, Series A, Series B type of lifestyle, it gives people that when you bring founders from that walk of life, it gives people a lot of like possibility to better understand.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I guess last thing for you. I know you've been here for a long time. Like, when you come back to San Francisco, do you feel like it's changed at all, or do you feel like you fit in as well as you used to? Or
no, I mean, I'm a different person than I was growing up in San Francisco, and I think, I mean, I feel like it's changed. It makes me sad, dude.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like the other day, it was Saturday, and we were driving through what is downtown San Francisco, and like, what 10 years? Not even 10 years ago, dude. 6 years ago, like 2019, pre-COVID, that was bustling and busy and like, and now it's like empty and cardboard. And
do you think politics is to blame, or would you say it's like a mix of like crime and politics are.
Well, I mean, I think they go hand in hand. I think
Yeah.
politics is definitely to blame. I think when you have, you know, a government that does not punish wrongdoings, right? When we're talking about laws that, hey, if you steal less than $900, you get to, slap on the wrist, you're out the next day.
It's
Fuck,
dangerous. Yeah.
I'm gonna go do it again, right? And when you're
Yeah.
not prosecuting it, do I think that there's a lot of underserved communities that could potentially benefit? Yeah, but I don't think you need to look at it from like a racial lens. Just like there's black people, Latino people, there's also white people, there's also Asian people that necessarily don't have this. I mean, you're gonna laugh, but I think San Francisco, if we start going back to focusing on this kind of something we talked about earlier, the declining birth rate, if you start going back to focusing on the nuclear family and making sure that
You got to do that. Yeah, you got to do
every
that.
kid is raised by both a mother and a father or two parents, right? I think that ends up really changing the way our life is, right? When kids have those influences of parental figures that are there to guide them, right? Because a lot of the times when you talk about gangs, I'm from Mexico. I've got friends that unfortunately are in bad steps with cartels and all that. What they're looking for in a lot of those senses, they're looking for a sense of belonging,
authority.
a sense of family, right?
Yeah.
And the cartel will say that to them. We'll say that, hey, we're family here. We're a family here. And we're going to look out for each other and we'll die for each other, right? But you're doing something bad.
Yeah.
Versus at home, mom and dad are, hey, Dan, we're going to look out for you, man. We're going to go and cheer for you at your baseball game or basketball game or whatever the case is. And that ends up doing a lot more different. And I think if San Francisco can go back to those initiatives, if San Francisco can really be a lot more transparent with its spending, because it's one of the richest cities in the world.
You're right, dude. There's a lot of money here.
The fact that they're always broke, the fact that California always has deficits, I mean, believe it or not, I'm excited that there's going to be that Doge committee. Department
Musk and Ravek.
Yeah, but back where I was talking, Musk, Department of Government Efficiency, there's a lot of people, man, that are out there that are working government jobs that are not doing shit, that are not contributing to society, right? And maybe if they got rid of their jobs, it would force them to go and look for something in the private sector or force them to innovate, right? That's the times we've had things, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the startups came because of the '08 recession when people were forced
Airbnb,
to innovate.
yeah,
Airbnb and all those things. And so like sometimes that's what's needed. And I think a lot of people like comfort as humans. We want to be comfortable. But I think bottom line is if San Francisco focused on that, maybe San Francisco could be the great city it once was back in the 60s, 70s when people wanted to come here. I think even into the 2000s, everybody wanted to come here. But,
dude, this place was popping.
Yeah, and I think
I didn't want to leave San Francisco.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, man, it's like this is where politics comes in. We got to get rid of all the redlining that comes with building. Housing. I mean, San Francisco, unfortunately, doesn't have much more land to go out towards. So you got to start building up, but you got to take all these restrictions of 20% of these apartments have to be low income or blah, blah, blah. It's simple supply and demand. If we get more supply of housing, demand starts going down. Therefore, prices are naturally going to go down.
Damn, dude, you should throw your name in the hat. I met the mayor of Daly City over the street. Like, yeah.
I'm good, man. I thought about once running for office.
Dude, thanks, Alan. Yeah.